In an effort to bring down the record high gas prices Americans are paying at the pump, President Donald Trump says he wants to suspend the federal gas tax.
And now U.S. Senator John Cornyn from Texas is reversing his position from a few days ago, now saying he'd be open to it.
Cornyn is locked in a battle for his seat with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The runoff election happens 2 weeks from today.
KVUE's Daniel Perot is here with more on this push to provide relief for families and businesses and what Cornyn's reversal could mean for the U.S. Senate race. Daniel.
Mark, about 18 cents of what you pay for every gallon of gasoline is the federal gas tax. President Trump's proposal to suspend it requires approval from Congress. Now, lawmakers on Capitol Hill, including Senator John Cornyn, have not been a fan of this idea in the past. But with 2 weeks to go until the runoff and no endorsement in the race from the president, Cornyn and his opponent, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, are pulling out all the stops to try and bag the ultimate prize. With the national average for a gallon of gas now at $4.50, President Donald Trump is looking to reduce the pain at the pump by suspending the federal gas tax.
You know, it's a small percentage, but it's still money.
It's something Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate State Representative James Salarico called for back in April. In a statement Monday, he applauded the president for his support. As for the Republicans running for Senate, Senator John Cornyn has been skeptical, warning it would explode the deficit. Experts say a 1-month suspension would cost the country $3.5 billion in revenue, while 3 months would cost up to $10.5 billion.
Shutting down the gas tax, even temporarily, takes away the money that you use to fill the potholes and to improve roads.
Hours after Trump's comments, Senator Cornyn sung a new tune, saying he could live with a temporary suspension getting through this sort of bumpy time because of uncertainty about energy prices.
Any position that he needs to change, he feels like he has to do it. He'll suffer short-term embarrassment as a flip-flopper.
On CNN, Talarico slammed Cornyn for his previous opposition.
John Cornyn has had 40 years to lower the cost of housing, to lower the cost of health care, to lower the cost of groceries and utilities and gas. What's the holdup?
Cornyn is in the fight for his political life, facing off against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in the primary runoff later this month. Both men are fighting for President Trump's endorsement. On Monday, Cornyn introduced legislation to rename Highway 287, which runs from Port Arthur to Montana, as Interstate 47 in honor of President Trump.
He can still move MAGA voters with his endorsements, so both Paxton and Cornyn lust after that endorsement.
Back in March, President Trump said he'd make an endorsement in the race soon, but he's been quiet. Last week, Mr. Trump said he'd make a decision relatively soon.
I like them both. I like them both.
As Republicans grapple with how to minimize backlash from rising costs, Cornyn swallowing his pride and getting in line in hopes it'll win over the president in the final days of this viciously competitive primary runoff. Democratic gubernatorial candidate, State Representative Gina Hinojosa, has called on Governor Greg Abbott to suspend the state gas tax here in Texas. The governor's office calls any suggestion that the Texas governor is authorized by law to suspend a gas tax entirely uninformed or purposefully misleading. Republican Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller has also voiced support for temporarily suspending the state and federal gas taxes. Mark and Ashley.